With one click of a switch, we turn off the lights. We are three young men. We turned off the lights and we're sitting in the dark and laughing. When the laughing stops, one of our friends starts talking about ghosts. When he finishes, we start talking about ghost stories as well. All of a sudden, one of our friends said, "Call out to Bloody Mary." Before we start, let's see who Bloody Mary is and where she came from. Bloody Mary started in Western countries around the 19th century. This is the most famous scary story in the Western world. Who is this woman? In Western stories they say, Mary is an evil lady, she's ugly, and whenever she wants to enter somewhere, she enters through the mirror. A lot of people say the start of this was Queen Mary I of England, and if you've seen our video about the most evil dictators, she's in there. There's a lot of scary people coming out of the mirror in different cultures, but this Western story is the most famous one. These stories basically started between friends, like people that weren't afraid of anything would dare their friends to go in a dark room and call out to Bloody Mary. If somebody said okay, they probably wouldn't have done it, but if somebody said no, they would make fun of them forever and say you're scared. The Bloody Mary story, just like every other story, has its own rules. One of the rules is that you have to be in a dark room. The other rule is that you have to have a mirror in the room. It has to be nighttime and the only light source has to be a candle. The other rule is that however many people are in the room, they have to look themselves in the mirror and they all have to say Bloody Mary.
Bloody Mary.
The next time, a little louder.
Bloody Mary. Bloody Mary.
While they're doing this, they have to be staring into the mirror. If they repeat her name 13 times and it's louder than the other, she will appear. The next rule is that if she appears, don't go close to the mirror because if she can reach you, she might pull you in. And you don't know what will happen to the person. A very important rule to this game is that you should never break the mirror because if you break it, Bloody Mary will leave the mirror and her ghost will be let free. So we made her appear in the mirror and she's staring at us. What can we do? She can't reach us, so we're safe on that part. They say in this situation, two things will happen. She might answer whatever question you have, or she might scream. After you're finished with Bloody Mary, you should leave the room, and you can't return there for a few days. We're finished, but the main problems just started. The problem is that when you make Bloody Mary appear, she gets to know that house, and whenever she wants, she can come visit through the mirror. Like for example, you're brushing your teeth, then all of a sudden she appears. You have no choice, you have to live with that. If you break the mirror, she's gonna haunt your house. If you don't break it, she might visit you here and there. This was basically the fake story of Bloody Mary. But let's actually go see what Bloody Mary means and where she came from. Just like we said, most Westerners believe the story started with Queen Mary I. It's good to know that she was the first queen of England that didn't have a king present. So it was the first time that a queen was running the entire country and no king was available. But what did she do wrong that a story like this is attached to her? Her father was Henry VIII. And just like we said in this clip, Henry wanted to divorce his wives, and that is why he changed the Catholic Church to Protestant. But Mary was against her father's idea, and that is why she stays Catholic. And when she gets into power, she decides to change back to a Catholic church. When she was trying to do this, she was killing a lot of important people that were related to the Protestant church, and that is why she had them executed in the city with fire. Mary I killed more than 200 important people with fire. After that, they put Bloody in front of her name, and she became Bloody Mary. But she's the most famous Bloody Mary because we have another Bloody Mary, and that's Mary, Queen of Scotland. This lady was forced to be the Queen of Scotland, and she did not want to be there, and that is why she escapes to England and asks Elizabeth I, which was the queen back then, to keep her safe. But not only does Elizabeth not help her, she tells her she's an embarrassment, and she puts her in prison. This lady stays in prison for 18 years, then they decide to execute her. Back then, when someone important like this was about to get executed, they would tell the entire population, and an insane number of people would show up to the actual execution. Back then, they would execute with an axe, and they would cut the neck. I don't know if the executioner was drunk or wasn't feeling well, but instead of cutting Mary's head directly, he slashed the side of her neck, and that caused a lot of blood to exit her neck and splash everywhere. And with whatever going on, Mary stands up with blood misting out of her neck, and she looks at the people, and a few seconds later she falls down. And the entire population that watched that happen called her Bloody Mary after that. Both Bloody Marys came from Britain, so it seems like this story was made up in the United Kingdom, and this story was passed around falsely. They basically took an evil lady like Mary I and added a story next to her name, and there's nothing real about it. Nobody's gonna come out of the mirror. If you see someone come out of the mirror, take a breather, wipe your eyes, look again, and see you've made a mistake. What do you guys think? Please tell us your ideas about these stories, because in every culture, stories like this exist.